Morning and welcome to my Tireside Chat. I'm going to be talking about some crypto today. It is Tuesday, October 29th. Yes, I always have to double check. Look, I'm wearing a jacket today. The weather has finally changed in Fresno. I keep, I hear the weather report saying, oh, it's only going to be a high of like 60 degrees. And I get all excited, but then I think, oh, but watch, they're gonna spring on us. Like 5 days from now, it's gonna be 105 again. Somehow, it's still just gonna happen. I know it. It hasn't happened yet, but I'm having nightmares about it. I'm tired of that hot weather. Ready for the cold. Winter is coming. I know that's a Game of Thrones reference, but I never honestly watched Game of Thrones. By the time I got around to considering starting it, it was already like towards the end, and people were talking about how disappointing the last season was. So, and it seemed like a homework assignment, a big homework assignment by that time. I don't know. One of these days I'll go back and watch it. I just don't have that kind of spare time. Anyhow, that's not what I'm here to talk about. I'm sorry. So again, it's Tuesday, October 29th, 2024, and Bitcoin hit 70,000 yesterday, and as I speak, it's approaching 72. We'll see how slowly this person in front of me drives. Sorry, I'm so easily distracted with traffic. This happens every time. It's 8:30 in the morning, and I'm driving to work now. Anyways, this is gonna be slow. Bitcoin is approaching 72,000. We'll see. And then, eventually maybe it's all-time high, which I think was 72,750, thereabouts. We'll see if it reaches or breaches that. I'm hoping, and I'm not a really good technical analyzer when it comes to the markets. I mostly, I never took the time to really study that. I know a little bit about it. Mostly I know I follow people who I've gotten really good at following people on YouTube and elsewhere, and knowing how to tell when they know what they're talking about or when they don't. And I think that's been a huge contributing factor to the success that I've had so far, finally, after being at this for 3 or 4 years now, in the whole crypto sphere. And so what I'm doing here is I'm just, for all 5 of you that are listening to me, and are actually interested, I'm just kind of regurgitating a mesh of different things that I'm hearing from different people. I do see in some of the, I'm probably in somewhat actively like 5 or 6 different crypto groups, Discord groups, or otherwise. It's not always on Discord, but there's a Telegram group I'm in, and another one's on this new app called Circle. And they all have slightly different perspectives on markets and certain coins and what they're looking for. So I kind of like to take these different perspectives and then put them into the melting pot, which is my head, and come up with a good running average of what all those things are saying. Spit them back out. That being said, it does seem like, as of now, that Bitcoin itself is on an uptrend. If it does surpass its all-time high this week, which it looks like it might be on track to do, it looks like we haven't had, as it was approaching 70,000, it was a gradual climb with not a lot of pullback at any given point, it seemed like, and it's gone past that, and it's steadily climbing up from there. So I think think I would expect the next big barrier is there's probably a lot of sell orders, if I had to guess, around the all-time high or just before it. And if it can break through that and keep going to 74,000, 75,000, and Bitcoin really rallies and hits new all-time highs this week, or even next week, even if there's, if it can break the all-time high and then pull back some, and this is kind of like what we've been seeing the past couple of weeks, where it looks like it's back on an uptrend after just chopping sideways all summer, and then kind of actually gradually going down, where we dipped down into, what was it, the 50,000s for a while there, but it was swinging 5 to 10% every way, each way, which, it always goes in waves, up and down, week to week, typically, it seems like. And if it can, like, after last week and this week, if it can break past the all-time high, I think, which we're getting pretty close to by today or tomorrow, and then even if it does retrace, that's an industry term, retrace its steps and it goes back down, I would hope or expect it would be a higher low from last week, which didn't go back down that far. I think it was 68 something, and then I don't have the charts in front of me, sorry, I'm just going off of memory here. Didn't seem like it retraced that far last week, so even if it went back down to 69 or maybe above 70, I mean, it's looking really strong. Anyways, my hope is, and I think a lot of people who are invested currently, our hopes is that Bitcoin really can start approaching like 80,000 in the next few weeks, next couple of weeks. And then the election is happening next week. So, one way or another, I think I've watched a lot of analysis on this too. A lot of people in the crypto community, for one, a lot of them are huge Trump supporters, it seems like. I haven't taken any polls, but I can tell you just from the chatter that I see on a daily basis in all the different channels and groups that I'm in. And I guess also it's probably fair to say that Trump supporters in general seem to be much more vocal, at least on the internet. I don't know. There's a lot of people being vocal right now. It's getting really annoying, actually, which I just can't wait for all this to be over. But it's never going to be over. I didn't want to talk politics. I'm not trying to pitch one side or the other at this point. That's not the point of this channel. But I think a little bit too much weight is being given into which way the markets are going to go based on which candidate wins the election and how that goes. I do think, if Trump wins, there's probably going to be an initial, one way or another, there's going to be an initial knee-jerk reaction from the market. If Trump wins, it's probably going to be initially positive, and which it's an emotional response. I think it's an emotional response, which that's a lot of what happens in the market anyways. A lot of it's just an emotional reaction, at least initially, and then after all the adrenaline subsides, people calm down, and logic sets in, things go back to where they should be. So you might see an initial pump if it looks like Trump was going to win the election, but I think that would correct itself ultimately. Is it better for crypto in the long term? Honestly, it's more likely. Does it mean that if Harris gets elected, that the markets are going to crash? No, I don't think so. There might be an initial, again, emotional response from the markets, where it may drop 5% for a week or something. But I think ultimately, one way or another, barring a full-blown economic catastrophe this winter, which why would there be? It's the holiday season's coming up. The economy, I think, is and the way things are going with the Fed and unemployment rates, which is ultimately, because that's what the Fed is basing its decision on, whether to decrease interest rates even further, as the unemployment rates. As Jerome Powell has said, as long as they can keep unemployment at 4.4% or lower, then they can avoid any more influxes of interest rate reductions, which they want to do only as needed. Because historically, you can go back 100 years and look at every time we've had a recession. I was watching Credit Where It's Due, the crypto channel Virtual Bacon, his analysis on that, which was like an hour-long video. In a nutshell, basically saying that the Federal Reserve, every time historically, they have reduced interest rates by 200 points, it's 2%, or more within a 1-year period. Every time, it's like over 50% of the time that's happened, we had a somewhat serious recession immediately followed. So they're aware of this, and they're trying to avoid reducing interest rates any more than 2%, or even hitting the 2% mark within a 1-year period, starting when they last lowered interest rates just recently here in, was that September? Was that last month? I guess it was. So they've already lowered it 50 points. So assuming, which unemployment rate, we're entering the holiday season right now. So the unemployment rate, which, yes, as an aside, we all accept that the unemployment rate that gets published by the government of 4.4% is total BS. It doesn't account for a lot of things, but that's what they're basing their decisions on, nonetheless. So again, as long as that holds, regardless of what happens in the next couple of months through the end of December, now the markets, I think, will traditionally during Christmas time, it seems like people are pulling money out of their investments so that they can buy presents for each other, and that does tend to have a negative effect on prices, so that we may still see that. And then it may not be until after Christmas, come January, where we really see a bull market run. And depending on what Bitcoin's doing, and then also, a lot of it just revolves around, that's what it seems like, a lot of it revolves around just the general economy and what the Federal Reserve is doing. Not only regarding interest rates, but also their buying and selling of securities, from what I understand, which they're in the middle of a long-term sell-off, and they've already warned that they're going to pause and potentially reverse that. And whenever they do that, previously, that's when we wind up going from a Bitcoin season to an altcoin season, where the Bitcoin dominance starts to fall off. That's, again, according to some of these videos I've been watching. We'll see how true that is, but that's what we're going to be looking for, as I am mostly invested in altcoins, and that's where the bigger gains are. That's kind of what I'm looking for, is for the altcoins to really take off and for us to see some really good gains there. But before that can happen, we need Bitcoin to do its thing. Well, we'll sit on the sidelines and watch and wait patiently, as I've been waiting for 2 years now. 2 years since it was 2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago, when I first started mining and investing in Caspa, and made some good profits there, and I've kind of spread that around at this point. So anyways, I am at work now. I'm trying to find a parking space because I'm late, as I had to go meet the contractor at my house this morning before I could come in. Here we are. What else did I want to say? Oh, Caspa. So, Caspa, while Bitcoin is rallying and most other altcoins are kind of flat, Ethereum's up like 4 or 5% since it's it's kind of following Bitcoin. Caspa has been bleeding to death, not quite to death. That's an exaggeration, but it's went down from a couple of months ago where it was near its all-time high of 20 cents. And now it's gradually kind of just slowly traced back down, and it's at 11. It was at 11.5 cents this morning, which I've honestly been. I was at a point beginning of this year. I mean, Caspa was still like 90% of my portfolio, and I was married to it, as they say. Because I'd done so well with it, and this is, you get emotionally involved with your investments, which I've had to learn to be aware of and not do so much. I've gone from, over the year, being 90% Caspa, I think I'm about 30% now, and I've sold off just within the past 4 weeks. Traded that for some other positions, and a couple of them that have done pretty well, while Caspa has continued to kind of bleed off. I think I sold some last when it was at 13 cents, and I'm considering selling more, and that's kind of what it seems like is happening. Caspa's been in this position before where it seems like it's bleeding off and everybody's fudding it. And there's like a lot of fear. Oh, it's just going to keep continuing to decline. People are saying it's going to go to zero. It's not going to go to zero. That's stupid. I think it's a matter of time before Caspa takes off again. But the thing is and this happens all the time, not just with Caspa, but other crypto, where for whatever reason it's sitting at a standstill. It's stagnant. Not much is happening. It's not getting any new listings. It's not getting any tier 1 exchange listings like on Coinbase or Binance, which is what it really needs at this point. That may not happen for another year at this point, for all we know. We don't know. In the meantime, people are watching, they're sitting on the sidelines with their giant bags of Caspa, watching all these other projects take off, and people are making tons of money. And so, after the fact, people are like, oh, maybe I should sell some of my Caspa and get into this other thing. And so it just slowly and gradually people are realizing it, as I have done. Although I'm glad I started doing that like at the beginning of this year and not just now. Because otherwise, yeah, at this point, I think I would be down. I'd be down 30 or 40% from where I am now, at least. If I had just held all my Caspa that I'd had at the beginning of this year, yeah, I'd be down maybe 50% from where I am now. So I'm definitely in a better position because of it. So I'm considering whether to hold. Actually, yeah, I think this morning I'm gonna sell off. Not, I had the thought I'm just gonna sell the rest of my Caspa and dump it into this and this and this, and then like after those are successful, I can buy back into Caspa later. I don't know if I'm quite gonna do that. I'm gonna be pretty content with what I have. I think I might sell off another 5% and move it into one other project that I'd like to have more of. Because it's another small cap that I think hasn't seen the light of day yet. Anyways, I gotta head into the office. I think that's about all for now. I can't wait to see what happens in these next couple of months. It's interesting times, very interesting times on multiple fronts. I hope things have slowed down by January. Yeah, we all need some peace. That's all. Heading up on 20 minutes here. Have a good one, everyone.